on. There we go. Peace, though, family. Welcome. Please let me know if you can hear me okay in the chat. Just check something. Oh my goodness. Woo! Whenever there's literally fire that's meant to be shared. Oh my goodness. How's everyone doing tonight? I am so honored to be here. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so happy to be here, elated. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm so happy that all of you are here. I see the number of synchronicities in the chat. Okay. So I'm going to talk about 2025. Shout out to Kianda. I think she asked me in January, are you going to talk about the year? And I said, usually I do something around March if I'm led. And at the time, there was nothing. There was nothing that I was given to discuss until a week ago. And then until today. So first things first, let me share who this is for. I'm very intentional on who I'm speaking to, and I will continue to be and emphasize this. I'm speaking to spiritual beings. I'm speaking to those people that are here and they know that they are here to do something great. They are passionate about something. Whether or not you have clarity or not, you know that you are unique. You know there's something different about you from maybe your friend group, your family group. There's something within you that wants to come out, and you are seeking to put the puzzle pieces together. I always say that spiritual beings are decoders, okay? And we're here to decode information, use tools that we are given, the planets, crystals, herbs, to decode the information so we can find out why I'm here and how do I leave from this space. This is who I'm speaking to. If this is not you, you are welcome to stay, but I'm intentional on who I'm speaking to. Okay? I've been meditating about this and meditating that I'm sharing the correct information with those people that are here to get this information. I'm here for those who are here to do the work, not to feel good. I'm not going to poo-poo you. I'm not here to have you have a good feeling about yourself because you're not feeling good and then move on to the next video where you can feel good about yourself and being your ego. I'm not here for you. I'm here for those who are here to do the work. Whether you are at that place where you know who you are or not, you know that there's something. And you've been seeking. You may have been seeking for years, or this may be something that you just figured out. There's something more to this. And you're doing the work, you're taking the classes, you're reading the books, you're trying to bring everything together. This is who I am here for. I'm clear on that, and I need you to be clear on that as well. This is not for the masses. I don't speak to the masses. I'm not here to make you comfortable. If anything, I want you to be triggered. I want something to be triggered within you because I want you to heal. I want you to be triggered so that you can expand, find out what that trigger is so that you can tap into the depths of you to pull out who you truly are. Because this is how we find out who we truly are. By doing the challenging work, by going to the challenging spaces, by having the challenging experiences. This spiritual walk is not easy. It is downright hellish sometimes, but it is done with ease when you know who you are, when you understand why you are here, and when you have the tools. Do you understand? My job is to empower you So I will always share information, but I will always tell you how to use that information in your lives in a practical way. This is who I'm here for. I'm here for the note takers, the ones who are focused, the ones who shut everything out to really understand this and do this work. If this is you, put a 9 in the chat. Put a 9 in the chat. If it is not you, you are more than welcome to go wherever resonates with you, to listen to whoever resonates with you. Now let's talk. Last week, I did a full lesson on the full moon, and I told you to use that energy to let go. And I said, I'm 80% sure that I'm going to teach the following week. So initially, the message was going to be on the 20th. And I decided a few days ago, I can't do it on the 20th because I have to prepare them for the 20th. And there may be some people that are going to watch the replay the following day. So I want you to make sure you catch the energy. And today, as I was preparing, I said, let me get up early and prepare. I was pulled into a deep sleep. I got up, tried to go back to sleep, and I was in that alpha theta space, and boom, the information started coming. Information started coming. And it was coming from so many different places. And I was shocked because some of it is information I've never heard of before. It didn't make sense initially. And the pieces was like puzzle pieces coming together. And I said, this is it. This is it. And how do I articulate this? When I tell you, follow your promptings, follow your path, do not disregard your past. Do not disregard the things that happened to you or why they happened to you. And this is not spiritual. How can this be? What does this have to do with spirituality, or what does this have to do with my work? Do not disregard any of it. All of it is meaningful. All of it is meaningful. For 25 years, 25 years, I wondered why I spent 4 years at Rutgers University studying physics, going from physics to going into Africana studies, and from there doing a 2-year research. Why did I have the teachers that I had? Why did I need to know all of this information? For 25 years, this bothered me. And I felt like maybe it was just something that I needed until today. Because the information that I received brought me back to the research that I did 25 years ago, y'all. I was in college 1996 to 2000, before there was a www.anything. I went to college with a typewriter. I did real research, not hearsay. And because of the gifts that now I understand, I was able to read documents in 3 different languages: English, Portuguese, Spanish. What does this have to do with anything? It has to do with some of the things I'm going to talk about tonight. because I'm going to put it together. I'm going to put it together. Mama Universe told me this is what happened, and this is where we are right now, y'all. Listen. I would say this is the most powerful lecture that I've ever taught because it's all coming together. And it's all being backed up by truth. Yes, I just saw 333 in the chat. That is spiritual communication. So we're going to start off here, and we're going to get to here. I'm going to explain everything, no stone left unturned. Because too many times we have part truth. I was sharing with someone last night, I had a consultation, and I said, "You're an ancient one. The information is not going to be in the books because the books were written by people that had part truth. Genetically, they were only part of a whole. The genetics did not complete a cycle. So they can only give you part of something. You are more ancient than them. So you have to tap into your ancient memory, your ancient self, and you have to be open to that. And this information that I'm sharing with you is coming from that place. So let's begin. Whew, let's begin, y'all. This is deep. This is deep. I contemplated, maybe I shared with my daughters everything, and I said, I don't know if I can even share this or how to contain myself energetically to share this, but I'm doing it. And I want you all to flow with me. So let's proceed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share some things on the screen just as a guideline, because some of you have shared that it's easier for you to see things. And I understand as a teacher, people learn differently. So the feedback that I got last week is we like seeing that you had the topics, etc., presented on the screen. So I'm going to do that for those who need to see it, who want to see it. Okay. I'm going to give you the main topics, and then we're going to dive a little deeper. So some of the things that we're going to cover tonight, I'm going to talk about the true new year. I'm going to talk about the snake energy. You're the snake. I'm going to talk about this 9. I'm going to talk about this cycle that we're in, this generational cycle that we're in. And I'm going to talk about the expanded cycle that we're in, because this is what I was taught today by Spirit. You will see that the numbers 3, 6, 9 are all over this, So let's begin. Whew. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the energy. Thank you so much. Thank you to my daughter. 2023, I was in a car accident and I had a brain injury, and I lost a lot of my memory, including language capabilities. And when you are someone that has studied, as I have studied, it was very devastating. And I thought there were some moments where I thought that I would not gain these memories back or this information back. And what Spirit told me is that what you didn't need was released so that you can tap into what is needed. And a year ago, in my pursuit to share healing and transforming the mind, right? Not just woo woo speaking on it, we're talking about actual biology. And I taught on the brain, neural pathways. I taught on the dendrites, the soma, the cell, the mitochondria. I spoke on all of this and how it functions. I knew that there was something in this physical earth that I can use to support me as well. And so we came up with this formulation of this tea that when I tell you there's a difference when I drink it and when I don't drink it. So I've been drinking it the past 2 days. This is the only thing I've consumed all day. I put it in the link. I shared it in an email. This is one of my 3 top teas of all time. It is called Mentality. The information that I'm receiving, the downloads that I'm getting, I attribute the support of these herbs and bringing it all together. So with that said, I'm going to take my time. Thank you so much. Again, thank you to my daughter she brought me a whole thing today. Thank you for that. And thank you for all of you sending the love and energy for me to get this message out to all of you. So let's get to it. Let's get to it, y'all. Let's get to it. At the end, I'm going to teach you something that I call the Neuro Ascend method. It is something that I received spiritually. And as I said, spirituality and science are one and the same. I'm going to explain the science behind it first, and then I'm going to explain to you what you need to do spiritually. And I'm going to tell you when you need to do it, why you need to do it, and it's all going to make sense. Okay? So let's get into it. Let me see if I can go ahead and share this with you all. Whew. I appreciate you as well. The tea is called Mentality. This is it. And the link is below. It has herbs that you may not have ever heard before. One of them is a herb that literally repairs damaged neural pathways. It prevents dementia, Alzheimer's, all sorts of things. But it also, for me, I found as a spiritual being, one who channels, it helps bring the pieces together, connect the dots. Okay, so let me try to bring this up. Please forgive me. I usually have everything prepared beforehand, but there were some tech challenges that we had. Okay, there we go. I think that's it. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Let me see if you all. Okay, perfect. Okay. So again, these are for those who need to see, have a visual of the subtopic that we're talking about. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So the equinox and the full moon, let's get into that. Let's talk about the importance of that. Again, tonight, we're going to cover the equinox as the true new year, the first new moon in Aries. We're going to talk about the year of the snake, not in numerology, the 80-year, I call it resistance cycle, and the other greater cycles, as well as I'm going to teach you a method that you're going to need to do. Okay, so March 20th is the official new year. It is the spring equinox. We have been conditioned that the new year is January 1st. I believe that everyone that is on here tonight has an understanding of why that is not the case. January 1st happens in the middle of a season. Okay. Now, collectively, as a world, we have agreed that January 1st is the beginning of the year. However, we are speaking from a place of truth and spirituality. Nature does not respect that. Your spirit team does not respect that. The cosmic bodies does not respect the January date. Okay? It is a time trap or loop that we are in. When we're talking about time, we're talking about numbers, okay? And we'll get into that in a moment. But right now, we are speaking about the actual true energy. So March 20th is the spring equinox. I call this the doorway, and I'm going to tell you why. Because when I was asking Spirit about this, I said, well, some people celebrate the first new moon as the new year. What's the difference? Why is that the case? And I was told, don't worry about that. Make the connection, make the connection. And so the connection that was made is that the spring equinox is the 20th, but the first moon is the 29th. Listen, how many days between the 20th and the 29th, y'all? Because I know some of you in here decoding already. How many days between the 20th and the 29th? All truth is truth. About a week ago, I had a vision. Last week, literally, I had a vision. I told my daughters, there's this house that is my house, my home that I'm going to have. And there's a certain look to it. And I saw this, I want to say 30 years ago. My first time to Mexico doing research. I want to say I was 16. And I saw these homes that were on the street. And there was a doorway or a gate, the entrance. And there were windows, and they had beautiful red flowers, and they were all clay. They were made of clay or mud, right? But they were white, beautiful. And I was just like, wow, so amazing. And I was invited to go to the home of an indigenous woman. Okay, she was a healer. And when she opened the door, I was shocked because when she opened the door, we were still outside. And this area was called the courtyard, and it was stunningly beautiful. There were plants, herbs, fruit trees, just this beautiful space, a little pool. And then there was another door, and that door was the actual house. When we opened that door, it was the most marvelous thing. Open the sky, it was open to the sky, the way that the ceilings were made. It encompassed nature. And I said I had never seen anything so beautiful. It was everything. That vision has been in my mind since that time. And so it came back to me a few days ago, and I was sharing with my daughters, this is the type of house I want. And I saw like a picture of something that looked like it. I screenshot it, and I was trying to find, where is this place? Because if I can find this house, I will buy it. Like, I don't know how much it costs. I want to find it. And then as I was preparing for this, and I wanted to share with you all the equinox and the new moon, Spirit brought that back to my memory. This is why we don't dismiss anything, any prompting we get. And so what I was told is that March 20th is that outer door. It is that doorway. And March 29th is the next door into the true space. And that courtyard is the 9 days in between. And remember, I told you that there were fruit trees, there were herbs, there was a pool, there's work. In that space, there literally was workers that were working on pulling the fruit, doing whatever they were doing, sweeping the yard, etc. There's work in that space. And I want you to keep this vision in your mind because I'm going to teach you something. And there's some of us that need visuals to do work, to do spiritual work. And I want this to be an example of a visual that you have. Okay? March 20th, the sun moves in Aries. Aries is the first zodiac, and everything in the universe shifts. Everything shifts. We start fresh. We start new. Aries is the energy of initiation. It is the energy of I am. This space that we're going to enter into, your main thing is who I am, not who am I, who I am, because we're making a statement. And when we're making a statement, spirit has to respond in kind. Who I am. March 20th is the doorway. It is the energy of balance and a fresh start. We are going to start something on March 20th, family. It is the most important start in times that you can't even imagine that we'll get into shortly. And March 29th, this is where your I amness takes place. This is where the work you do in that courtyard is going to be solidified, because before you can open that door to that glorious house, that dream space, you have to clean up the courtyard. There's work that has to be done. 9 days. There's no coincidence. There's no irony when it comes to spiritual truth. It is always going to be truth, and truth is always going to match truth. There's no coincidence that it's 9 days. The new moon could have been on the 28th. The new moon could have been on the 30th. But this year, 9 is the number of transformation. This is the real energetic rebirth, y'all. Before a baby is born, it's in its mother's womb, and before it meets the world, it has to go through a canal. I'm going to take my time with this, but I'm going to check to make sure that we're on the same page. Does this resonate? Does this make sense? Put some 9s in the chat. Put some 9s in the chat. Perfect. Let's talk about what's next. Year of the snake. Whoo, listen. I believe I said it a few weeks ago when I talked about physical women tapping into the true divine feminine. And the true divine feminine is not what we have been conditioned that it is. The year of the snake speaks to that. Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell you something. So much truth has been hidden from you. and it's been meant to disempower you. And because of that, you feel lost in certain information that you receive. The year of the snake connects to the energy of this year, this energy that we're in, transformation. It's a time for introspection, wisdom, self-mastery. These are all internal things. What do we say about masculine and feminine energy? Masculine is external, feminine is internal. Internal. For those who are in a male body, you need to tap into your femininity, your divine femininity. Some of you are like, oh, I'm not feminine. Let's please not play these games. You're not here on this channel thinking like that. We have both energies within us, but all of us have been conditioned incorrectly. And if you don't know, you connect to someone who's in their divine femininity so you can really know what it's like. Because it's not weakness, it's not passiveness, it's not this idea of being submissive and being weak. We don't even understand what that means, and we've been taught incorrectly. Listen. The year of the snake represents the woman. It represents feminine energy, y'all. This is why it has been so demonized. Oh, the devil is a snake. What? That is not truth. If you grew up in church and you read that, the same Bible uses the word snake and it uses the word serpent. They are two different things. You're telling me that someone that wrote it did not say, oh, let me use the same word for snake and serpent? But we weren't taught this. We weren't taught this. We were taught serpent is a snake. This is where etymology, this is where study comes in. And we have not been taught how to study. Serpent is not the same as a snake. But snake is connected to femininity, women, and so it's demonized. The snake year brings hidden power shifts. This is you tapping in and pulling out who you truly are, that internal you. This means that old patterns must be shed. We started that process on the 14th. On the 14th, 1-4. We started that process then. 1 means beginnings. 4 is work. 5 is change. We heard what Sister Myra Moore said about the number 14. She said, follow the 14. We started it on the 14th. Rapid personal growth is coming. It is coming if you lean into transformation. If you want to keep your old snake skin and be tight and uncomfortable and crusty dusty, be my guest. But we're shedding that this year. We're tapping into the divine femininity, that power to shed that. You know how painful it is for its skin to be removed, for it to crawl out of its skin? It's not the only animal that does that. It is painful. It is not something easy, but it leaves it behind to collect in the dust. Spirit is going to force you to trust your intuition more than ever. It's going to force you. If you are open to doing the work. If not, then that's okay. There's a cleansing, there's a washing away, there's a rebirth that is happening. That has to happen, y'all. It has to happen. This is the time. This is not a conversation for next year, 10 years, 20 years. This is a conversation for now. There's a reason why it's happening now. Everything points to right now. Let me know in the chat if you're following, if this resonates. Drop a 9. Perfect. Let's continue. The year 9 in numerology. The number 9, generally for many numerologists, they say, oh, it's the number for endings. As spiritual beings, we know there are no endings. There are no beginnings, there are no endings. There's just levels of transformation. They're just cycles. And so you need to understand that you're in a cycle of transformation, not a cycle of ending. Somebody posted under the chat, thank you so much for sharing this. People are speaking about the apocalypse, the end of the world. As spiritual beings, we understand like there's no end. Don't get caught up in those conversations. Those people have disjuncted information and you're getting it and you're listening confused because it's only part. Remember, knowing plus understanding equals power. If you get the knowledge, if you get the knowing without understanding, you are disempowered. If you are disempowered, then the person that is sharing with you the polarity of not in power is in power. If you are disempowered, that means at the other end, they are empowered. If I can disempower you in any way, that it empowers me. We see this because people share these fear things and they have 100 million likes and 1 million views. They are being empowered by that energetically, y'all. When I keep telling you that everyone that is in this planet is not the same, in, on, above, around, you have to know who you are. Because when you know who you are, you know who other people aren't. When we look at the number 9, almost inverted, looks like a number 6, not exactly, almost. And number 6 literally represents the woman. It looks like a womb. It's the number of mama. And so we have the reverse of that, almost. This year, universally, is a 9 year. Again, this does not mean that this is the 2025th year of this world. No, we are talking about universal agreements. We agreed in a time systematic way as a world, and so we exist in this energy. You cannot ignore the energy that you exist in. So energetically, we are in a 9 space, a 9 cycle, which means transformation. Transformation, not endings. The world is not going to end. There's no ending. There's not going to be an ending of a whole entire country. Some of us lived through, when I was growing up, there was a country called USSR. It is now Russia. There was the name changed, the organization around it changed, but the land is still there. The people are still there. Do you understand? Transformation. What you transform now determines what you will experience in the next cycle. You can shed that old snake skin or you can hold on to it. You're going to be really uncomfortable coming the end of the year, talking about October going into next year. So do the work now. I shared that the equinox is on March 20th and the new moon is on March 29th. And here's that 9 again. So for those who say, well, I don't believe in that it really is 2025, that's okay. Truth is truth. Spirit is going to show you the 9 somewhere. And here's the 9. It's transformation, whether you want to believe it or not. You don't have to believe it. It's provable. So we're in this space. If you are listening to anyone or around anyone that's talking about definitive endings or fear mongering or making you afraid because this country is going to end or the government or all these things are going to end, walk away. You, as spiritual beings, you celebrate this. Every transformation is a leveling up. We expand every single time something happens. We get better and better and better and better. So just sit back. I'm transforming. This place is transforming. What's about to happen is going to be more than I could even imagine. And it's all working out for you, spiritual beings, this time around. This time around, you ancient ones. This time around. Because I'm speaking to those of you who have come back, who are here, who exist in other realities, in which we would call a past. We know that time is not linear, but you have experiences in other timelines that are older, and you're here. Your energy is grounded here. I'm going to get into that in a moment. But it's here for a reason. So we know here we transform stuff. Not only are we transforming ourselves, but we're transforming energetically the space. Let me know in the chat if you got this. If this resonates, if this makes sense, and then we'll go to the next section. Woo! Drop 9s or snakes. So somebody dropping snakes. Perfect. Let's continue. Now let's talk. We're going to talk about this. I spoke about this. I want to say, was it 2? I think it was 2 years ago. Or it might have been last year. And I broke down 80-year generational cycles and what happens in them. And there's a gentleman who wrote, I think he wrote a book about this that I found out afterwards. This was me in my meditation room and spirit saying, look at these cycles. And I was like, oh my gosh. It was earlier this year. Because I remember saying, this is what's going to happen with this presidency. I remember talking about it. And as I said, is what happened because I looked at the prior cycles. So when we speak about cycles, we look at cycles because remember, no beginnings, no endings. It's a loop. You understand that? You can get caught up in it or you can escape from it. In order to escape from it, you have to look down on it as what it is and see the mistakes, the errors, the things that happened and move accordingly. And we forgot that. We haven't been taught it. I'm teaching you now. Okay. So let's talk about it. The 80-year historical cycle, This is a pattern of crisis and spiritual awakening. Let's talk about this. Woo! This is where some people are not happy. They get a little upset. They get a little triggered. It's okay. We're still going to go through it. Every 80 years, the world experiences a major crisis followed by spiritual awakenings. And it really has been tracked back to the Revolutionary War. Y'all, I did some more tracking, but we're going to start here because this is what we know from what we learned in history. And I'm going to share some stuff that you didn't learn in history and that you would never learn. Okay? So 1775 to 1783, we have the birth of the US, right? There was a Revolutionary War that happened between two countries, England and uh, the colonies. Okay. After that war, there was something called the Great Awakening. Listen. After that destruction, there was a spiritual rise, a spiritual expansion. You hear me? And there was this surge of spirituality and revival and all these things that happened at this time. Don't get it twisted. We're taught that these pilgrims that came were super religious and all these. No, what? It was not a Christian nation. The people left England or were kicked out of England because they did not want to be religious. But something happened after this destruction that opened up a portal of spirituality. Listen, listen, because we're going to take it 80 years after. Well, let's go back. Let's go back 80 years. At this time, because we're just taught, oh, 1775, 1783, there was slavery, slaves were slaves, that's it. They were just slaving. No. At this time, there was also a surge of indigenous and black people, brown and black people. I don't know what the politically correct way, Negroes, colors, whatever it was called. We did have people that came from Africa. That's a fact because they built some of the structures that you see when you go to Charleston, South Carolina, all the metalworking and the bricklaying and all that stuff. That's the whole fact. They did work in the rice fields. That's the whole fact, y'all. We're not 100% indigenous and we're not 100% African. And I'm speaking to not just to the Americans, you people in the United States. I'm speaking to Caribbean. I'm speaking to Europeans. I'm speaking to all y'all. Even in Africa. Because y'all, some of y'all history is twisted too. Even if you in Asia, this happened worldwide. There was an awakening, an intellectual awakening, when you had these people that started publishing books, writing things. Benjamin Banneker designed Washington, D.C. All these things were happening that you're just not told because you're told slavery slaves. That's it. That's it. Caribbean, all these places had slaves. Africa, they were just in huts and in trees. That's all that was going on. Not true. There was a huge spiritual awakening. And there were fights that were happening. You had literally indigenous people, and we'll get into this, fighting. You had African people that came here fighting. Nobody came here willingly, was like, okay, I'll just be like, Nobody was brought here and said, so I'll be subjugated to slavery, especially when I'm a trained artisan in what I do. Listen. And not one indigenous person, I don't care what they taught you in school, said, okay, we're weak. We're just going to bow our heads down and the Trail of Tears and just move west because you're powerful than us. That did not happen. You're taught wrong. 80 years later, Civil War, 1861, 1865. And really, it was a 6-year period. So we're really talking about 1859. Okay. In this period, you had the Civil War, the abolition of slavery. I spoke about this the last live. Some people didn't like it. It's okay. After this, we have another spiritual portal that opens up. Listen, you had more African indigenous people in Congress and Senate than you did Europeans descendant. More, we don't know this history. More towns and cities were founded. Now half of them are under lakes, y'all. Half of them are buried under lakes. Most of them were flooded. You had some of them that were burnt down, y'all. Thriving communities. You had another resurgence of spirituality when now you have Europeans who were desperate to find out the truth, going to Egypt and coming to Mexico and digging up, a lot of anthropological research and trying to understand God or spirituality. Because the truth is, the religion that Europe had was only for the priests, the ones who had the books. It was not for the majority of the people. So now we have access to these things and we want to learn more. There's a spiritual awakening that happened, y'all. We find this because we find a lot of extremely wealthy people that had nothing else to do but tap into ancient spirituality and start writing books on it. Some of the books that people reference were written in the early 1900s by these very wealthy people. You think, oh, this person is so spiritual because they wrote this particular book. No, they were rich off of slave labor and were bored. And just like they do now, all of these extremely wealthy people, we're talking about billionaire trillionaires, they are very involved in spirituality, very involved in it. And so they tapped into the spiritual portal. World War II, 1939 to 1945, another 6-year period. What does the number 6 represent? Mama, woman, feminine energy. Listen. The whole world is in crisis now that we are aware of. Now, mind you, during the Civil War and Revolutionary War, there was stuff happening in other parts of the world. It's just not documented well because guess who wrote the books? Why would I be writing about Africa and Asia if I'm writing the books and I'm European in America? So we have World War II. After World War II, spiritual portal opens up. You have Black and indigenous people, not just in America, in the Caribbean, Africa, and various places, rising up. We start the music industry. We begin the creation of Motown, the intellects, all of the ones going to HBCUs, Howard University, Florida A&M, Tuskegee. There's this thing with almost like Black excellence in the Americas. In the Caribbean, you have people from the Caribbean. Now, the Caribbean was different. They also went to university, but they only chose 2 people from each Caribbean island. 1 to 2 people from each Caribbean island could go to London to university. But there was this striving thing to educate yourself and to be better. And this spiritual awakening happened. There's this connection. We see this with certain groups Islam within in the US growing at this time with Elijah Muhammad. And we see certain other groups that are growing, Jehovah Witness groups that are growing. We see this with other religious sects. Even Christianity changed during this time, where now, especially Black people in the South, now you can come to our church. You have to sit upstairs though. You can't be with us, but you can come to our, you know, church, our Baptist church, because before you couldn't. There was a resurgence that happened. There was a spiritual resurgence that happened as well, where you had the mothers, the healers, not bothered with these laws and doing their own work in their communities, doing their own work in their educating their children, healing their children. Babies were not born in hospitals. You couldn't be born in a hospital. You were born at home. Someone birthed you. Who was it? You sick, you can't go to a hospital. There's an herb you're going to take for this. Do you understand? This happened during this time. After this, you find, and we're talking about the 15-year period after this, we have the civil rights movement organized. The brainchild were women. Well, what are you talking about? Martin Luther King and such and such and such. Feminine, masculine, internal, external. It was women in the basement of churches, because it's always been the mothers organizing this, saying, hey, Martin, you're the best speaker. You're the most, you went to their schools. You're the most intellectual in this space. You represent us. And I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just telling y'all the truth. It was the women organizing feminine energy, open spiritual portal. We are now in another 80-year period. When did it start? 2019. What happened at the end of 2019, y'all? Let me take a sip of tea so you can tell me what happened. Yes, the whole world was turned upside down. COVID. And what's not told, what wasn't mentioned, what we don't know about, is that there were over 200 wars happening. Sometimes we think, well, it's not happening to big countries, so it's not happening. You serious? It was happening. People were dying in mass because there was genocide in certain countries in Africa, in certain places in Asia. It just wasn't televised. And they were saying that it was COVID numbers when it was actually, we're talking about tens of thousands of people, y'all, in the past few years. Mm. And here we are 6 years later in 2025. What happens at that 6th year, y'all? That spiritual portal opens up. That spiritual portal opens up. We are in this space right now. What happens in the next 10 to 15 years depends on what happens right now, what we do right now. Now, I received this and I said, this is good. I'm going to teach on this. And Spirit said, nope, 360. I said 360. 360 degrees, like it's a reverse transformation. Okay, I get it. I kept hearing 360, 360. I was like, what is 360? I don't think y'all ready for this. If you're ready for this, type a 9 in the chat. Because listen. Whew. Ooh, 588 in the chat. 360. When I heard 360, I literally I didn't understand what 360. So I'm trying to understand 360, what it means. The number 3 plus 6 is 9. I get that. Okay. Keep hearing it. And I'm like, okay, are we talking about time? The times? A cycle? But 360 doesn't go into 80 even. I'm trying to figure out how it goes into 80. It does, it's halfway because it's 4.5 cycles. Like, what is 360? And then I heard years. And I said, what's happening in 360 years? I won't be here. What happened 360 years ago? What happened 360 years ago? What happened 360 years ago? I don't, it wasn't a significant time in my mind. And this is when it all started coming together. Ooh, I just felt like this surge through my solar plexus. I don't engage in debates. I don't really get into certain things um, with people because for me, it's unnecessary. I legit studied when the greats were teaching, when the greats were researching. And I had one of the greatest as my mentor, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. And I never forget the day I went up to him and I said, um, there's something with Black people in the Caribbean and Mexico that I'm a little confused about. Because why do people from certain islands share the same story? Now, I know that there was something called the Zafra, which is sugarcane harvest, and people travel to different islands, but it predates that. I'm talking about cultures, language, food, and there's a difference. I knew there was a difference. As a child, I can look at someone and say, you're from St. Lucia, you're from Barbados, you're from Trinidad, you're from Jamaica, you're from Antigua. I could tell, not just by the accent, but by the look, the energy, there was something. And I said, there's something to this. I want to know what slave ships went where. And I want to understand why in Mexico there are Black, like not what you perceive as Mexican. We're talking about Negroes in Mexico. Now, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima wrote a book that came before Columbus. And so I went to him because I wanted to know, well, tell me the research on this. Where did they come from in Africa? And he said he did not have that information. Listen. And I said, well, I'm going to go to Mexico and research it. Now, why did I want to go to Mexico? Because they did not have all the historical documents in one place in the Caribbean. I searched, y'all. I went to the archives. I have a cousin that's an archivist. Stuff was disjuncted. It was missing. I said, who is there a book that I can read? He said, no. And I said, well, can you help me do it? And he said, I don't mentor students anymore. And I was furious. Y'all, I have an Aries moon. And something in me said I had to figure out this research. And so my professor in the front of the class, as I'm talking to him, I said, well, fine, I'm gonna do it by myself and I don't need your help. Real stink. And I walked away from him and he said, you come back here. He said, who are you to talk to me like that? I said, well, if you're not gonna help me, I'll figure it out. I'll go to Mexico by myself and I'll figure out doing the research by myself. Just like that, y'all. I was what, 18 years old. I thought I was a shit. Okay. He said, calm down. Number one, you don't speak to me like that, and I'll help you. He started asking me questions. Well, in order for you to do this research, you need to know how to read Spanish. I said, I know Spanish. I speak Spanish. I can read Spanish. Because that was not his lane. There was not a lane for that. So I literally became the student. Y'all, listen, I don't talk about this because I held shame for about 25 years with this. I became that student that he used to get research from these places. And he said it's because your Spanish sounds like the people on the coast, and you can go to any South America, any Caribbean island, and they won't know that you're American. You look like them. You are like them. So we began a covert mission, y'all. Listen, when I tell you I was studying diaspora before diaspora was a word at Rutgers University. I put in a request for there to be a new major called diaspora studies, but that racist, sexist institution shut it down, even though I provided the research. And today, when Spirit said, go bigger, go more expanded, I did research on the indigenous people here in the Americas. The research on the Spaniards, what they said, the English, the Portuguese, because I was able to read Portuguese, I was able to read the Spanish, I was able to read the French, I was able to read these languages, not knowing I had a gift of communication. For some reason, the words popped out. And I would tell him, this is what this person said. This is what Aguirre Beltran said in this book. This is what it meant. And as I'm getting this information, I went to my old trunk that I have. So where's my paper? Because I did a 120-page research paper that is used today by some scholars. Rutgers University took my research, my work that I did with Dr. Ivan Fensterderma's permission, and books were published from my research. So when I tell you that I know what I'm talking about, and I'll show you right here, because I went in my trunk and got, this is films from pictures, photos that I took at the museums, the anthropological sites. This is what films look like for y'all who are young. This is how we took pictures back in the day. This is my research document from Dr. Van Sertima, where he had to give me feedback on my research. Look, Afro-Mexican history. I had to prove in order to do this thesis project, which was also in order for me to do this, Rutgers said they made it hard. They said, well, you have to master 3 languages. It has to be between 2 departments, and you have to write it in both English and Spanish. But my professors, Dr. Kim Butler, Dr. Van Sertima, have friends in high places. And the head of the Spanish department said, I'll agree to this. And this is how I was able to go into Mexico and do the research. This is my book. I'm sharing this with you because I want you to know that this is coming from the source. This is research I physically saw, physically did when I share what I'm about to share with you all. When I opened this today, the first page I went to, y'all, pages are falling apart. First thing I went to, I don't know what class this was. First thing I went to was something about the goddesses. I don't know what class this was, but this is what I was doing. Here's a paper that I did. Y'all see that year? 1999. Did something on Black Hispanic women. I typewriter types. This bag is the research that I brought back from Mexico. All of this. The thesis project that I did, 120 pages, came from physical research and all of these documents. I haven't seen these in years, y'all. Here's a paper that I did. And I'll show you the books that I had to read that were not in English. Aguirre Beltran, all these books were not in English, and I had to read them. I'm giving you this because what I share with you, I want you to know that is fact. That this is not made up. This is legit research that I did. There was an article that was written. We had a protest on campus, and of course, me, I'm Melly Mel from the Bronx, they were talking some racist stuff. And so we got together, two organizations. I went to the police station to file for a permit to protest. I found this newspaper, y'all, from Rutgers. What year is this? October 14th, 1999. Look, all the nines. See this? Student protest and move toward change. This is me. This is who you're talking to. This is who's speaking to you, okay? Now that we have that established, I'm going to share some history that you are not aware of. And I know this for a fact because my research is in here, and I did not share all of it because some of it was too overwhelming to share, and there were no books that was written about it. What the hell does a 19, 20-year-old know about anything? I was overwhelmed. But I will say this, the research that I did, the thesis project that I submitted was so profound that New York University accepted me to a doctorate program, bypassing a master's degree to a doctorate program. And the Schomburg Museum in New York City was going to give me a fellowship, $58,000. And they said, we just want you to do your research, and you bring us the research. It'll be ours, but we're going to pay you to do it. And I said, no. I said, I'm done with all of this. So now I'm going to share some information with y'all that I actually put my eyes on, read the books in other languages, and did the research. You ready? Let's go. $360 years ago, 1665, there were multiple things happening. There were wars in India. There were wars in Africa. You're not going to find the records of this, or it's going to be really challenging too. But there were wars in America. Let's talk about this. I think I did a page for you all. Listen. Let's talk about this. When the English settlers came to the East Coast, and we're talking about Virginia and North, because it was harder to come to the South because you had all those islands on the south of the Carolinas, etc. So for them, it was just islands. But we're talking about Virginia and North. They were met with people. This is their description from their book, that had black skin with woolly hair, and they looked Moorish. And the women had shapely bodies. That is what they said when they came and met these indigenous people. Years later, it was changed to red skin, copper tones. That is not the original document, y'all. I'm telling you what the original letters, because they weren't books. They were writing letters. They had to write letters to report back to the king. Do you understand? So the Spanish, the Portuguese, the French, when they discovered something, they had to send letters to the king. I read the letters. This is what the people that they encountered looked like. Listen. They said the people were excellent in military strategy and had well-formed nations, very diplomatic. They had structure. We're taught that they were just running around in teepees and shit and little clothing, Pocahontas. Oh, no. Not only that, they were tall in stature. Black, woolly hair, and shapely. Military, they had military setups. They were well organized, had well organized societies and confederacies. So different groups formed larger groups. Where do you think the United States gets the idea to be the United States from? 360 years ago. 3 + 6 is 9. There were two wars. Two wars. Let me see. I think I put this on a thing so you all can follow through. Listen. Let me see if I can share this. Let me see how I do this. There we go. Mm-mm-mm. Hold on, you guys. Let me figure this out. Okay. Yep. I created a slide for it. So you had the Iroquois Confederacy. A lot of you may have heard of the Iroquois, right? The Iroquois Nation. Number one, let me also tell you what they said. These nations were matriarchal. They were matrilineal. This is what they said. That everything went through the woman's lines. And follow me here. I'm going to take you somewhere real deep with this. So you have the Iroquois Confederacy, the Beaver Wars, 1640s to about 1701, not really exact. And they had an alliance between the Algonquin, which is another nation, Iroquois, the Algonquin, and the Huron. They made an alliance together. Warrior nations, matriarchal. Okay. They were tired of the English and the French. They were tired of them. They were like, you're doing too much. You got to go. We let you here. Understand that the pilgrims came and they were like legitimately like they were like, I know we see videos and pictures of them wearing the black and white and so nice and all that. No, they were dirty, they were dirty. They didn't know how to bathe, they didn't know how to feed themselves. They thought water was poison. They thought beer was better than drinking water because they come from a country, an island, England, where the water is literally poisonous. So these nations were teaching them, like, mind you, let me say this again, because here's something else you don't know. They knew they were coming. The ancient mothers from thousands of years ago said, these people are going to come, and this is what's going to happen, but don't worry. And maybe I'll share that story at the end, if you remind me. So let's get back into it. They fought. They devastated the Europeans, devastated them. They fought. They were successful in their fight. The French and Europeans backed up. Now we have the Wampanoag Confederacy. Okay, and this again was another group of multiple tribes coming together, nations coming together. And so it was led by Metacom, Meta, M-E-T-A, com. Okay. If you read the history books, it'll say King Philip. That's what they called him. Like they gave, it's like when Asians come to US and their name may be one thing, they will say, oh, we understand your name is Yao Yo, but we'll call you Tina. Same thing. They couldn't pronounce his name. He's king. He's Philip, but because he was a chief, he was King Philip. He was indigenous, and he was a black man with an afro. He was over it. He said, I'm tired of you. You're doing the most. You're destroying the land. You have no respect for the land. You have no respect for the people. You're raping the women. You got to go. Oh, you're not going to go? Fine. And he gathered other nations together and said, we're going to decimate them. We're going to kill all of them. They don't want to leave. We are military. We're protecting. They're the border patrol, y'all. They're the border patrol. We're protecting our brothers and sisters more inland that were not warrior-like. And they were succeeding in wiping out the English settlers. They were succeeding. Some English settlers left, and the rest, they were winning the war. They were winning the war. However, you have those who are envious or jealous for whatever reason. Some of them who are not full-blooded indigenous. Do you understand? That wasn't here or there. And sided with the Europeans as spies and told them the plans and went to cause contention in between the other nations. Oh, this nation thinks they're better than you. And stuff that didn't happen before. Why would one of our people lie to us? And because of that, there was trickery that happened. And they lost the war. And when they lost the war, like Europeans do, like they did in Spain, now all of y'all are going to be slaves. All of y'all. And they killed the chief, all the chiefs, the warriors, and enslaved hundreds of thousands of these people from these nations. No, they did not all go west. No, they did not kill them all. They enslaved them. This is something important for y'all to understand. Now, I'm going to share with you something that I know you've never heard of before, which is what I was receiving, and it brought me back to 25 years ago. And I said, this is why I did this work. This is why I studied the physics, and this is why I studied 25 years ago, and it brought me peace today. Let me say this. This is not a black or white or brown or purple thing. This is just a truth thing, period. We are spiritual beings, period. That's it. Last year, for about a year, my ancestors were calling me on my father's side to come. You have to come back to the Caribbean. You have to come back to the island. And I said, Daddy, I have to come. I have to go. We have to go. And so he thought, oh, let's make a family trip. And I said, this is not family trip fun time. This is something spiritual that has to happen. And I didn't fully understand what. I fully didn't understand what it was at the time. Hold on, there we go. And so, as usual, when I'm prompted to do things, I just do it. I don't need to understand why. I'm just going to do it. So went to the island. It was carnival time, turn up, fun. But I knew there was something that I needed to connect to. And so there was a resurging story that I was hearing. So we went to my family's village. We met our cousin. He talked about the herbs and how our families are herbalists, healers, also carpentry, work with the hands, which makes sense to my family. But there was an underlining thing about the women in my line. Listen. And there was a story that was told about my grandmother. I never met my grandmother. The day before I arrived to the island, she transitioned, which was odd because all her siblings lived to be over 100. Maybe one day I'll tell that story, but that was spiritually purposeful. But I learned some things about her. And I had a conversation with my aunt, and I learned some things about her mother. And I learned some things about her mother. And I was like, hold on now. These women were some badass. Like, what? Like, they were like, it wasn't a feminist thing. It was just they were in their true divine femininity, like their true power. Like some really badass, like you were doing that then. And so I remember feeling like this is in my bloodline. This feels good. And a few days before we were leaving, my father wanted to take us to the other end of the island. There's a area called Willikes where everybody has these like, oh, they're like very spiritual, but people have negative things to say. But there's an area called Devil's Bridge. Mm. And Devil's Bridge really is a man-made bridge. The waves crashed so much it carved a hole in the rocks, and so it's like not man-made. It's a nature-made bridge. And so we went there, and so as I'm standing on the rocks, it's terrifying. The waves are huge, but it's really high up. So it's not like on the beach. It's like I don't know how many hundreds of feet in the air. So you can look down if you're brave enough. So as I'm standing there, I'm hearing my ancestors speak to me. And they said, this is the furthest point. There's nothing between here and there. And I said, well, where's there? And they said, well, Africa. And I said, okay, that's interesting. And then I was a little nervous. So it's just water? So I pulled up Google Maps and I looked at the island. I kept scrolling. And there's Africa. And I felt like this is overwhelming. This is interesting. However, there was a lot of travel that happened back and forth. Okay. Your people were warriors. And I said, really? When the Europeans first came, they were intimidated because they saw the big rocks. And the people that were there, please understand, Europe was not the first. There was travel happening back and forth. We're talking about the borderlands in the Caribbean. These islands separate the Caribbean from the Americas, the Central America. You understand? Mexico, South America. Before you can get there, you got to hit these islands. They were all warriors. They were vicious. All of them. And the Europeans could not penetrate them. And so they brought Africans that were the rebellious ones. They didn't go out and kidnap Kunta Kinte and his brother randomly. They literally sought to bring Africans that could fight the people there. But listen, I was like, I'm having this conversation on the rock. And I'm just like, I never heard about this. Because they were women. And I said, what? It was women. And I was told, you come from that line of women. They were warriors. Y'all, this is not in any books. So I'm like, I'm baffled that I'm hearing this, right? So, okay, so these women warriors were protecting the inner parts of the Americas. And you pull up a map. They look like tiny islands, but so let me rewind. This is something Dr. Van Sertima taught me. In the Atlantic Ocean, there are channels that are moved by, so there are certain channels in the rivers in the water that are the wind. The wind literally has carves these channels into the ocean. So you can be at a port, I don't know, in Nigeria, get in one of those channels, those rivers, and it will land you to a particular place. Okay. So there was travel, there was stuff that was happening, but you could not come to the rest of the Americas if you didn't get past us. They were matrilineal. There were two languages they spoke. The women spoke a language and the men spoke a language. The men could not learn the women language because the women's language was spoken in a way of power, like spell. Do you understand me? So where, I don't know, let's say a man would know the word apple, the woman's word would be apple that grows at my command. Do you understand? So they had to bring in Africans that were the fighter, the rebellious ones. Y'all, I did this research. Africans were not selling Africans, y'all. They were selling other people. And let me tell y'all this, because I know you may not have heard this. Some of these other people were people that came from the East. And some of these people that came from the East were people that were 10 tribes that were lost. You know who I'm talking about, the 10 tribes. And we have documentation on that because they came over to the Americas speaking Hebrew. Some of them landed in Igbo land in I think Nigeria. I'm not going to go there right now, but listen. So they bought the ones that were the most rebellious to slavery here. The ones that even survived landed here. So I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm told this is in your blood. This is the truth. And I said, I thought we were told that the original people, there was a group called the Carib. And out of the Carib, you have the Arawak, the Taino, the different groups, right? The Taino, the ones in the North Caribbean, so you're talking about Puerto Rico and those islands, were more peaceful. Yeah, they could be peaceful because the warriors were on the external islands. So I was like, well, I'm having this conversation. What about the Arawak? The Arawak was a patriarchal society. Who were these women? So as we're going back, I see the sign Wadadli. Always seeing the sign Wadadli. And I say, Daddy, Wadadli, I keep seeing that. And he's like, that's the name of the island. So the island is, the island I'm speaking of is Antigua and Barbuda. Wadadli is what they called Antigua, okay? The people, write this down, the people, the women were called I'm not making this up, you can Google this. The women were called the Kali Naga. The Kali Naga. And the Kali Naga existed in what they call Lesser Antilles. So you have Antigua, Barbados, those Dominica, St. Lucia, those Lesser Antilles, Kali Naga. It was a women-run society that protected the Americas. And so I was saddened by that. And I went into meditation like, that's messed up because they killed all of them. And I was told, who said that? Who said that? Remember what I said earlier? I can tell people where they're from in the islands based on their look. And I always thought maybe it was from where they were from in Africa, not taking into account that it was indigenous feature. Spirit literally showed me the vision of my daughter. And my daughter, my second daughter, has the look of the Kali Naga. They were brown to black and had black hair, black hair. And had eyes that were more like Asian-like. The head was shaped a certain way and the necks were shaped a certain way. And I said, that is what I consider someone from Antigua looks like. The true, original, like you've been there. The Kali Nagas didn't go anywhere. Now, let me bring some of this together. So this was a few hours ago, y'all. All this stuff is coming to me. I'm like, what in the world? And then I said, well, what happened? Listen. This is 2025. 400 years ago, 400 years ago, they were betrayed. The women warriors who protected the Americas were betrayed. And who were they betrayed by? The men. They were betrayed. The Kali Naga made a call to all the islands from St. Kitts, Antigua, Barbados, Dominica, all the islands, and they said, we have to come together because we have to get rid of these English. They're overtaking the islands and their abuses are unreal. We have to get rid of them. They gathered on the island of St. Kitts, about 4,000 of them. They were betrayed by a man. And were set up. They were all poisoned. They were presented like they were going to do some grand dinner or some grand celebration for them. They were poisoned, and the English came in. Now, mind you, the Kali Naga outnumbered them, but they're poisoned. They're not in their highest vibrational frequency because something in their body has them vibrating low, so they can't be warrior. And they were murdered, massacred, over 4,000 Kali Naga. And that's the number that they tell us. And I know that it was much more than that. But not everyone went, and not everyone died. They're still there. Just like what happened in the Northeast America, they were lumped in as one group. Now, this happened 400 years ago. 400 years ago. 1625. As I'm getting all this information, I say, why are we not taught this? Why are we not taught the women, the people that bordered the country, the border of the United States on the East Coast, the border of the Caribbean, before you, literally like a portal, before you can get into here, you got to come see us. And just like a mama does, I don't care how strong a father is, but you better not mess with a mother, get between a mother and her baby. You hear me? So just how a mama was protective of what was in the Americas. What the heck was in the Americas, y'all? So I said the Kali Naga, which were a group that extended in the lesser, it's called Lesser Antilles, the lower islands that are dismissed as being small islands. Listen, the lower islands are the islands that have carnival every year. Carnival, which is the streets and celebrated. What does that have to do with wearing feathers and dancing barefoot? Dancing barefoot. You hear me? That is an indigenous practice. The feathers and the costumes is just hidden, just like we hid many things from what it really was. And it was a war call. Listen, when slavery ended, it was a war call from the women that this will never happen again. I think I shared with you that men get to do it, women don't get to do it. We have parts of our bodies that are melanated, that have color, that are meant to, they're antennas to the sun, but we're not able to get that information. And so you have post-slavery where they're in the streets with their feathers, barefoot, chest out, and they're doing their dances, not slave dances. We're talking about indigenous dances, y'all, because it's a war call. And in the island of Antigua specifically, they burnt down every sugarcane field and they said, never again will you enslave us. Never again will this happen. You're not taught this in history. You know why? Because if they did it in this island, in Jamaica, and in Haiti, and in Cuba, what they're going to do in the US. This is why these islands have been punished after punishment, after punishment, after punishment. Because how dare you fight up and rise up? I have a story to tell you about Jamaica. I have a story to tell you about Cuba. I have a story to tell you about Haiti. We just don't have the time tonight. But the same thing that happened there happened in these other countries too. This is what 25 years ago I was saying, Dr. Van Sertima, there's something connecting these places, and I don't know what it is because it's not all the islands, it's just some of them. Listen, 400 years ago to date, they massacred the Kalinaga. They thought they killed them off. So naturally, I said, if the Kalinaga were the warriors, the protectors of Central South Mexico from the east, and you have the Iroquois Confederacy, and we're talking about from look at how United States is shaped. So we perceive that it's like this when it really is like this. So the outermost states were protecting the rest of the country. And again, matrilineal, matriarchy. They were warriors. Well, who the heck was on the West Coast? Y'all, who was on the West Coast? Who was on the West Coast? First thing, I said, well, California. The Spirit says, say it again. I said, California, California, Khalifa, Khalifa, Cali. Y'all, let me calm down. Because I know I'm yelling into the mic. So I said, well, we're not really taught about, I've heard about Khalifa, California. California got its name from Khalifa, but it really isn't a true, it's not historically documented properly. Let me explain to you what I mean. I want to make sure I'm getting the dates right. I may be off some, and forgive me if I am. In the late 1500s, Hernan Cortez, it is Hernan Cortez, arrived at the base of California. I think it's called Baja California. And what he saw there reminded him of a book that was written in 1510 by Montalvo. I think that's his last name, Spanish writer. And he wrote a book about a mystical land of women warriors that was called Calafia. Where did he get this information from? Where did this come from? And so this is what the history books tell us. When Hernan Cortez arrived to California, he automatically thought about this. What would make him think about this, y'all? So Queen Khalifa never existed. So the Spaniard just came up with this fairy tale thing, this whole series of stories. Just like in the Kali Naga didn't exist. Kali. So I go back to Kali, what I know of Kali and what I know of Kali Ma, the great mother, the creator, destroyer. And Kali Ma, who is love and creates from love, also has a limit. And when her limit is reached, she will destroy whatever's in her path. And so her lover, Shiva, always comes to calm her down. Calm down, Kali Ma. We don't have to destroy things, right? Just calm yourself down over and over again until one time Kali Ma is like, I'm done with these people, these humans. Everyone is getting it. She goes on this killing spree. So this is the story. Kali Ma is a deity from the country we know as India. And so we see her represented as a woman with skulls around her neck, multiple arms. Shiva gets in her way. She chops his head off. She's standing on top of him. And it's like this wicked, demonic woman. These women are so destructive. But we don't talk about the story on how she repeatedly was trying to get people like love. Love, we're in creation, we're women. Until she gets fed up. Until she gets fed up. Listen. I told you I took a nap. I woke up. I got an alert. Y'all. I told you the Kali Nagas ain't go nowhere. They still here. They never left. There was no genocide where they were completely massacred. When I tell you that what has happened in UK and America woke them up, when I tell you that these islands are up in arms right now, when I tell you that Barbados, the Prime Minister of Barbados is a woman, she's up in arms because of what's going on with Trump. Barbados is up in arms with Europe. They're all on some, we getting complete independence. We want nothing from y'all. I say up in arms, like going off right now. Since the full moon, y'all, since the full moon, something happened. And they're saying, we're letting go of this colonial, you gotta go from our island. You don't belong here. You're putting these restrictions on us when we provide you with all your wealth. Cubans are up in arms again. There's so much pressure on Cuban because there's so much power there. Remember I told you the Kali Naga had two languages. The women spoke a language, a secret language that was power. When they spoke, it was power that came from them. They understood the power of the breath. Their language was powerful, that only they could know the language. And now their descendants are up in arms. Listen, Jamaica is up in arms. In the past few days, this shift has woken up the Kali Nagas. This shift has woken up the Kali Nagas. And they have come to destroy. You hear me? Now, all this stuff is coming to me. I'm tearing up my office, getting my research, asking my daughter, help me find my papers, help me find my documents, because I need to see this. I need to put my eyes on what Hernan Cortez said. And with this, I have to put my eyes on these research. I have to see it. And I said, all of a sudden, Sister Myra popped up. And I said, Super Bowl. And I said, who played in the Super Bowl? The Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Clearly indigenous and European, or we think is indigenous and European. But that's not what I was really on. My daughter said something. I don't remember. I don't know if she's here or not, but she said the quarterback is the owner of the quarterback of the winning team is the owner of an all women's league. Like he helps women it's the helping women thing. Now, what Sister Myra said is the halftime show. She spoke about the halftime show. She said Kendrick Lamar was following the cycle and redeeming the woman. When he sang the song with SZA, that song Luther, that's really Marvin Gaye's song. Read the lyrics. Because he said, at this world of mine, basically I take you up to God and I will fight anyone that tries to come for you. Like I present you to God, like this is my woman. This is the woman that I choose. It was a redemption thing. It was ceremonial. If you didn't watch that video, watch it. But here is what Spirit told me. Kendrick is from California. And Serena was on the stage with him from California. And she did the crypt walk. I think I spoke about this somewhere, what the crypt walk really is. And there's some nonsense about that is from somebody that's crippled. Like, come on. You don't have whole groups of people or gangs of people doing copying somebody who's crippled. And the movement's not even the same. Forget that. The crypt walk is an indigenous war cry. Listen, let me tell you how indigenous women, how our ancient mothers, when they had to battle, what they did. Let me tell you what they did. They didn't have guns and go to arrows and physical tools. They went to their first tool, which was nature. Listen. They went to the waters and they rhythmically did work in the waters. What do I mean? They sang in the waters and they beat the waters. You know, you can beat the surface of the water like a drum. Their hands. Remember I told you there's a reason why our hands are this color and our feet are that color, because when we touch nature, when we touch the elements, we create electromagnetic connection. We're communicating with spirit. So the mothers would go to the waters and beat the waters. It's help. Help us. We're about to go to war. Help us. In California, where the people, the majority of them are indigenous. How do we know that? Because there wasn't enough slaves from Africa to reach to California, y'all. The ones that landed there were the ones that came from the West. So the majority of the people there are indigenous. Listen, because it was written that these Spaniards, when they arrived to California, said the people were Black. They looked Moorish, like the ones on the East Coast. And so the way that they did their war cry was they put their foot to the earth. And we have the crypt walk or the blood walk. It's a war cry. It's a war cry because this is how we communicate. This is how we say, God, I need you. We connect to the elements and the earth responds. Kali, surrounded by on one side, Kali on another side. There are Kalis all over. We don't have enough time to pull all the Kalis from all the countries, but I'm telling you, the Kalis have woken up. They're not playing. You piss Kali off. Now let me explain to you what happens. In the beginning, I said, the ones who resonate with this, you resonate with this because you were there. You came back. This ain't new. You remember this. This is right. This sounds right. You were there. You know, they say we are our ancestors. That's real truth. That's real truth. There are not billions of souls. That is not true. There's not billions of souls that exist. That is not a truth. There's a certain amount that comes back and comes back and comes back. I said, well, what happens now, Spirit? Like how do we win this battle, this war, this time? The ancient texts say light from light, fire from fire. Spiritual beings are spiritual beings. The reason why we kept losing is because we were playing a physical war with physical beings. Physical beings have mastered this physical space. They've mastered the physical things, the guns, the money, all the physical things. They're masters at it. You're not going to outsmart them. You're not going to outwealth them. You're not going to outmoney them. You're not going to outgun them. That's what they're good at. Do you hear me? But physical came from spiritual. Physical was birthed from spiritual. Do you understand that? Anything that is manifested physical happened first in the spiritual. So where is the true power? Where is the true power? Listen. We try to fight wars as spiritual being using physical means. You will never win that way. You will never win that way. You are spiritual. Therefore, you fight spiritually. Do you understand? And this is what the ancient mothers knew. There's a redemption that has taken place, and it has waken up the collies. And this time, because I remembered during the civil rights movement when I'm in the streets protesting and fighting dogs and fighting water hosing and fighting and fighting and fighting. And I see people that are getting the benefits of me fighting to this day. And then I'm fighting in the World War II, fighting in World War II. And I got to come back. And I don't even have rights here. And I'm fighting during the Civil War, fighting in the Civil War. And I'm still have rights taken away. I'm being lynched and hung and beaten and all sorts of things. My town is getting flooded. My town is getting burned down after I fought in this war. And I'm fighting in a revolutionary war because I'm told that we're the colonies and we're fighting the evil people, England, and we're going to defeat England. Okay, we're going to defeat England, but you're going to be our slaves. Because we lost something. We lost something. Matriarchal energy, the woman is internal. It is spiritual work. And we lost how to do our spiritual walk. We lost how to fight. But the call went out, y'all. The call went out. The call went out from the full moon, the 14th. Just like the Super Bowl, the number 14th. I told you 1 + 4 is. And so the work that we're going to do is going to be spiritual, not physical. Not physical. This is not up for debate. I don't debate people. I share with you all truth. For those who want to fight physically and argue and do all the physical things, have at it. We are doing spiritual work because we remember that for those last 4 cycles, that physical stuff ain't work. And we remembered 400 years how we were cheated and manipulated out of our spiritual work. And it's not happening again. It's not happening again. This is not for everyone. There's work that you have to do. Let me get to the science. Let me get to the physics. Let me get to the quantum mechanics. You can exist in this reality in multiple dimensions. This is true. You can be in the same room in multiple dimensions. This is true because every room that you're in, there's multiple dimensions. You just see what you see, but there's things that you can't see with your eyes that you can only perceive with your eye in every space, which means that you can be in this world, but not of this world. You can exist in this world and operate in a higher dimensional space. This is true. Science backs this up. Quantum physics backs this up. There's cartoons that demonstrate this. What is that cartoon? Spider-Man, Enter the Multiverse. I watched that and I was like, do they know what they're showing here? You have other dimensional characters that he can see, but everybody else can't see them in one space. So here is the non-physical work. You, as spiritual beings, fight a spiritual fight. It first starts with you, and then it extends externally. And then you transform your individual life and the lives around you. And the ones who don't will be in another dimensional space that it doesn't matter anyway because you won't exist in. For some people, this may sound strange, but there are multiple dimensional spaces. There are multiple realities. I travel into various ones every night. And some of them look almost identical to this space. Some days, some risings, I have to wake up and say, okay, where am I? And some risings I wake up and I say, I'm in a more expanded one because this does not sound like it did before. People talk about the Mandela effect. The government's not erasing stuff. You just were in a reality with other people. Now you're in a different one. You share that memory from that space. You are spiritual. You are not fully here anyway, y'all. You are asleep. You are dreaming. You are dreaming watching me. But this reality is where you're most grounded because you chose to come here to do a work. But every time you put your head down on your pillow at night, your soul leaves and it goes somewhere else where it chooses to go to get information to bring back to you here. You have to know this. If this resonates with you, then it's truth for you. And that's that. And there's work to be done. Okay? I said a lot. I said a lot. It does explain deja vu. Deja vu is, oh, I was in this reality before, I'm on the right path. Do you understand? It's a good thing. You can be in one day, you can be in multiple spaces. You choose. You choose where you are. And we're going to talk about this more in depth. Let me know in the chat. I said a lot. I know I upset some people, and that's okay. I'm here for the soul family. The soul family gets it. Let me know in the chat how y'all are feeling. Let me know how you're feeling. I see nines, gratitude, all truth. Yes. Y'all, I shared with y'all my research to back this up. I told you the work that I did. Okay, awesome. Okay, Doris says ready. Okay, let's go. I gave you all that information. I'm not going to say, okay, y'all, good night. Have a good night. No, let's get to the work. So when I got all this information, and this actually is something that preceded the fullness of the information. I said, so what are we supposed to do? Like, what are we supposed to do? Like, No, it's not ritual. No, it's not. Um, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for the donation, Justacia. I appreciate that. You said thank you for the missing puzzle pieces. It's my honor, truly. And thank you. I think someone shared a donation earlier. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the energy. Um, Ms. J, you said cried so much I feel drained. I'm gonna empower you. I never want you to feel drained energetically. I was crying earlier. That's why you see like my eyes are dark underneath, right? I was literally getting all this information, furious, crying, just going through the emotions. And so now let's talk about what we're going to do. We got all that information. Now we're going to talk about what do we do with this, okay? And so I went to quantum physics. I went to the brain. I went to the space that meets physical and spiritual, right? The crown chakra, the third eye. And I said, what can we physically do? Because we don't know how to do certain things like our ancient mothers did. What is something that our logical brain, because we've been conditioned very logically, can do that works, that makes sense? And so I came up with a method. It's called NeuroAscend, and it's based on true, uh, again, quantum physics is based on true neurology, study of the brain. And I'm going to share that with you right now. Woo! I know y'all. I was in a place of, I don't even know how I come live tonight. And Spirit said, this is your work. I said, this is my work. I'm going to show up. I'm so happy that I'm here. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. Again, the fight is no longer physical, it is spiritual. Woo. We're going to now get into the spiritual. Give me 1 second. Let me share this. Okay, can you see my screen? No. Let's try now. Okay, there we go. So this is something that I call the NeuroAscend method. If you know anything about me, I'm always in a place of healing and ascension, right? Ascension. And so it's a 9-day reset for transformation. You have 9 days, remember, March 20th to March 29th. And these are some of the things, these are the things that you're going to do. And I'm going to go through each one, how you do it. And then I'm going to give you a specific method because I know it can be challenging. Let me give you something more specific, okay? So let's talk a little bit about neuroscience before we get into this, okay? So if you're writing this down, pause, because I need to explain the science first. Just listen to me and we'll get to this, I promise. So we're going to talk about neuroscience and quantum mechanics first. So in order to transform your reality, we have to attack the thing that has created your reality. And what has created your reality of the spiritual being is your brain. What do I mean by that? When you were born, you came in very connected to your heart space, very knowing of who you were. And then you were constructed into what this life is meant to be for you, how you should behave, how you should talk, everything, what language you should speak, how you should eat. All of these things were constructs created in the brain. And with each construct that was created in the brain, it created something called a neural pathway. Neural, Neural pathway. Okay. The neural pathway becomes fixed when something is done repetitively. Okay. So if every day you eat lunch at 12 o'clock, your brain says 12 o'clock is lunchtime. At 12 o'clock, you're going to get hungry. It's just going to be a thing. Okay. If you are born eating certain food, and you grew up eating, I don't know, cereal for breakfast, then every day you're going to want cereal. Okay. If I present you some greens and a potato, you're going to be like, that's not breakfast. You create a neural pathway. Listen, if someone tells you every day that you're stupid, what's wrong with you? You're so stupid. You can't think. Oh my gosh. Or you talk too much. You're going to create a neural pathway in your brain that says you're stupid. You talk too much. Something's wrong with you. Do you understand? These are pathways that have been taught. Prior, neuroscience said they were permanent. Quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and neuroscience says, wait a minute, they're actually malleable. Okay, they can be changed. Now, I thought about this a few times. More specifically, in the workshop I did, Retrain Your Brain, for those who were there. Okay, so the quantum physics says that those neural pathways can be changed. They can be weakened, and we can kill them and create new neural pathways of new ideas. Okay? Neuroscience says it takes 21 days, 21, 3, to start to create a neural pathway and destroy an old one. So it takes 21 days to weaken an old one and start to create a new one. So think of it as, imagine a color black, and in 21 days is like gray, almost transparent, but it's not gone. Neuroscience also says that it takes 63, 6 plus 3, 9. It takes 63 days to solidify a permanent new neural pathway. 63 days. So I said, that's a long time. A long time. And people that, especially nowadays, we've been very constructed. Amazon has messed us up. We want things shipped in 2 days. Microwaves has messed us up. We want our food cooked in 5 minutes. Social media has messed us up. We want information in 1 minute or less, 90 seconds or less. To tell someone to do something for 63 days, if I were to share with you, you have 63 days to do this, I would lose 95% of you. Maybe 5% would actually do it, because it's not easy. So I said there has to be another way. So I looked into how this works. I looked into the how the brain works and how these pathways are created, how they break down, the proteins within them, the soma. I looked in all these things, and I realized that it is logic-based. It is all mental. It is all masculine. It is all do the work, tell yourself this, speak this thing over 63 days. If someone told you that you were stupid and you think I'm not an intelligent person, then for 63 days say, I am intelligent, I am intelligent, I am intelligent. After 63 days, that pathway of you being unintelligent is dead. And you have a new pathway that says you're intelligent. And so you start doing things that an intelligent person does. You start attracting intelligence. You just become an intelligent being. Do you understand? Let me know if that makes sense so far. Let me know if you're following me so far. I'm going to take my time with this. Let me know if this makes sense. We're getting to the work, y'all. I'm going to teach you how to do this. Okay. All right. So I said, that's not going to work. We're spiritual beings. Where's the feminine? Where's the internal? Where's the emotional? It wasn't there. It wasn't there in any of the research. So this is me going into meditation and saying, there's too much. Even in certain spiritual circles and levels of consciousness, there's talk of everything is the mind reset. The all is the mind is all. And Spirit told me that is not it. That's not a whole story. You told half a story. And so we're so focused on the mind and we ignore the most important part, which is the heart. We ascend through the heart. We ascend through the heart. That's the internal. That's the love. That's what Kali Ma was trying to spread. I'm trying to spread love and y'all creating chaos. So I'm going to kill all y'all. Okay? So in these research, it was only focused on the mind, speaking affirmations, saying mental things. And so I did the math behind it. We're not going to get, just trust me, I did the math behind it. I did calculations. Someone mentioned last week was the full moon was on Pi Day. I did the math on this. And I said, well, if we do the mind work and we include the emotion, the heart work, how many days would it take? Yo, When I tell you my calculator came up with the number 9, not 9 point something, but 9, I said, that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. 9. Let me take this off of this. I don't want y'all distracted. 9. If you just listen, oh my gosh, listen. If you're just using the mind and the logic, it is a slower path than when you use the heart. It is faster, it's quicker. When you combine the two, you take something that would take 63 days, and it now takes 9. 6 plus 3 is 9. We have a 3-6-9 formula. It's everywhere, y'all. It's everywhere. 9 days to destroy old patterns, old ways of thinking, old reality. Last week I said, let go of the old stuff, start that work. Last week we weeded the grass, we weeded the lawn, we took all the weeds out, right? We did all that work. Now we can see the nice building, the nice house in front of us, because we got rid of all the weeds. On the 20th, we opened the door. Now we're in the courtyard. And for those 9 days, we're going to do the work. It works. This is not some, well, maybe it'll work. Maybe it doesn't work for you because blah, blah, blah. No, there are studies on this. There are studies on this. Whole studies. You haven't been taught this because it's easier to teach you nonsense and for you to be disempowered. You've heard about affirmations. You may think, oh, this is fun. This makes me feel good in the moment, but it changes your brain. You want to be abundant. If you say, I am abundance for 63 days, you will be abundant. That is a whole fact. But I have a shortcut on how to get it done in 9 days, y'all. But it's work. You want to clean that courtyard up so you can enter the house? It's work. And let me tell you, it's not easy, because this is something that I've been practicing doing. It's not easy. I'm not going to say that it is. It's up to you. What do I say? You can do it the easy way or you can do it the hard way. You can take 63 days. I'm not trying to do that. I'd rather take 9 whole days in the portal that Spirit has laid out to do this, in this space of enlightenment, this energetic portal. I'd rather do it there where I have support to get it done. You following me? All right. You said believing it works. Forget belief. You don't have to even believe it to work. It just works, because that's how the brain works. You don't have to believe when somebody says you're ugly. You don't believe it at first. Somebody tells you ugly, you're ugly, you're ugly. After a while, the reason why it starts to connect with you, because you keep hearing it. Y'all listen, this is science. This is not fake stuff. You're literally creating a pathway in your brain that says, this avenue says you're ugly, is permanent now. So you walk around thinking that you're ugly. Now we have to destroy that. You don't have to believe it. You understand? There are people that are abused and they don't believe these things about themselves, but because they're under that abuse for so long, it just becomes part of them. And I'm going to psychotherapists and healers, all this stuff, and I can't get rid of it because it's such a fixed part of their brain. And I'm teaching you how to reverse that. We're going to use truth, something that you can count, that is tangible, to actually reverse it. Do you understand? I'm not giving you a ritual to go to the ocean and have faith and believe that this is going to happen. Screw that. I'm tapping into Melanie from 1996 in a physics classroom, understanding this work, understanding how equations work. And I'm bringing it to you 25 years later after I did the research on neuroscience. So you don't have to believe it to be true. Do you understand? You don't have to believe it as the indigenous person or Black person in the US that you are beneath someone else. You don't think that you're less than someone else, but it's been constructed so much in your mind. You know, my daughter told me, she said, Mommy, do you notice that with certain people, you move out of the way for certain people? And I said, no, I'm just being polite. She said, you don't get it. You've been conditioned that certain people, you move out the way for them and they never budge. They keep walking straight. They expect you to move out of the way. I don't think I'm less than them. There was a neural pathway created that move out of the way for Miss Sally. She's coming through. Because that pathway was created from my mother who lived in 1940 something, 1950 something in the South. You understand? So you don't have to believe it for it to be the truth. This is science. Science is not based on belief. It's based on hardcore data, science, numbers. That's why I said spirituality and science are the same. When you can find that pathway between spirituality and science, nobody can dispute what you're saying spiritually. But if you're just on the spiritual and you can't really bring that science, that logic part, it's like, oh, take it or leave it. This may not work. Y'all following me? Let me know if you're following me. Okay? And you don't have to, you don't listen. You already know. I'm not saying this because of whatever. I'm saying this because this is me doing the work. I have evidence. Let's continue. Okay. So for 9 days, let me give you the general for 9 days. Limit social media. Why? Because social media will create certain neural pathways in your brain. Remember, you're trying to destroy certain things. Okay? The algorithm may feed you something that is against the neural pathway that you're trying to create. Thank you so much for the Cash App, Sharice. So limit it. You could be vibrating high. Somebody sends you something about whatever, and now you're vibrating low. I tell people, don't send me anything nonsense. I don't want to hear nothing. I'm call me delusional if you want. I'm creating pathways in my brain that allow me to manifest stuff like this. You guys, I manifest stuff with like this. And I'm going to teach you how to do this. So limit social media as much as you can. If you work on social media, just be mindful. Don't click on random stuff. Stay in gratitude. Stay in gratitude. Stay in gratitude. It is the fastest way to vibrate high. Stay in gratitude. I don't care what is happening around you. Stay in gratitude. I don't have enough money to buy dinner, but I have some rice here. I just have to eat rice. Be happy you eating rice. Thank you so much that I have rice that I can eat. Some people have nothing, but I have rice. Man, I don't have a car. My car broke down. Good. Be grateful that you can walk. You have legs, you can walk. Some people don't have legs, and some people have legs that they can't walk. Well, I'm paralyzed. I don't even have legs that I can walk with. Do you have arms that you can use? Be grateful that you have arms. Some people don't have arms. Oh, you're paraplegic, you don't have arms either? Well, you have eyes. Be grateful you have eyes to see. Find gratitude in everything. The moment you start feeling bad or vibrating low, go to look around you and find a place of gratitude. You hear me? Be open to promptings. You are going to be spiritually prompting. You're going to get these nudges, these emotional nudges, to do things. Do it. Do it. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, when I say I prove it to my daughter, see, this is what mommy's talking about. My daughter needed, the night before, I said, my daughter needs a specific type of coach. The next day, I was tired. I was in the bed sleeping, and we were supposed to go to get her some sneakers. And I was like, I just don't want to go. I just really tired. And Spirit said, get up. Literally told my daughter, mommy's not going to go. I'm going to go to sleep. Before I hung up, I heard, get up. And I asked my oldest daughter, Makeda, do you really want me to come? And she was like, well, yeah. Got up. Tired. My foot was hurting, y'all. My foot was hurting. It was cold out. It was just a mess. Went in the store. Didn't like the sneakers. It was just a mess. Was like, let's just get these. Went to the listen. Before I got to the register, these young boys tried to cut me. Usually I don't say nothing, but my daughter was like, mommy, stop letting people. She gave me that whole thing. So I said, y'all get behind me. Went to the register, said to my daughter, are you sure you don't need these sneakers? The guy behind the register said, oh, he said something about it. I said, well, what do you know about it? Because anyone, like any millennial, any Gen Z, you millennial, you whatever, you younger than me, you my niece and nephew. You hear me? So I talk to all y'all like you my niece and nephew. So I'm like, what do you know about that? So he's telling me, and then he's telling me, oh, I did this and that, and all his accomplishments. And I said, well, who is your coach? He tells me who his coach is, and I was like, I saw him, and I went to go up to him, but I didn't. I said, you can give me his number. He said, oh, I'll text him right now. Just like that, y'all. The next day manifested something for my daughter. You hear me? Because I said, Spirit said, get up, go to this store that you've never been to in the city that's not your city, because there's something there that you need, that you asked for. You hear me? Follow those promptings. Shout out to KB, who has a t-shirt line. So I have the yeah. Let's get with that real quick. Shout out to KB. KB, if you're in here, drop your link. She sent me this. I almost fell out. Let me share with y'all real quick. She sent me this a couple weeks ago. And it's crazy. As she was sending it to me, I was sending her a package. Follow your freaking promptings. This is not the time to hesitate. Y'all see this? This is it. Okay? Follow those promptings. Expect resistance and doubt. Expect resistance and doubt. Expect you to feel tired or not want to do it. Expect you to be like, Professor Moyo, know what she's talking about. Expect your family to be like, what are you doing? Expect you to not feel like wanting to do it, not wanting to do it, not thinking it's going to work. Expect that. 100%. It's going to show up. It's going to come. Okay? be in expectation of it. That's it. I'm going to tell you how to deal with that. Meditate morning and night. Oh my gosh, Professor, I can't even do morning. You say morning and night. Let me explain. Every morning I need to be meditating. Do not say to me that my mornings are busy, I'm too tired. Okay, you stay in this same low vibration reality where there's about to be all wars and all types of crazy shit. That's fine. You can't get up earlier. Don't care if you're tired. It's 9 days. Get up, because many of you will receive promptings during your meditation time. Get up. I have never meditated and not received something that was invaluable for that day. Oh, I'll meditate in my car, or I'll meditate while I'm in the shower brushing my teeth. No, you set aside a time for you to meet with your spirit team for you to receive guidance. What do I mean by night? I mean for those, and thank you so much for my students yesterday, 2 days ago. Pat is one. I think Christiane. There was another student who, I'm missing someone. There was another student who said that when they come home, they were doing their meditation because they couldn't do it. Oh, no. They were in the Hermetic yoga class. When they came home, they were doing their movements, their meditation movements, and it was helping them to, recalibrate their day, to, get back into their home space. And so what I mean by that meditate at night is, if you have to be outdoors and working, when you come back in the house, don't just come back in the house and go about your business. You need some space to wash off, dust off that energy. So if it's a meditation, fine. I usually wash my hands. Everyone knows you come to my house, I have a bathroom downstairs. Wash your hands, get the energy off before you come to my house. You hear me? So wash your hands. You gotta say, I release. Whatever you do whatever that practice is at night as well. Okay. All right. Daily checking using the 3-step neural ascend method. I'm going to share that in a moment. An affirmation. I want you to write this down. March 20th is the night that everything changes for me. And then once you write that down now, you can say that now. On March 21st, I want you to say this. March 20th is the night everything changed for me. And I want you to say that. I want you to look in the mirror and tell yourself that. I want you to tell your friends, whoever you know will listen to it, understand, or your children. Children are real easy. Let me tell you this. March 20th was the night that everything changed for me, because I started doing this work. And after 9 days, I felt like I woke up in this new reality. I was this new person. Everything was just different. Everything just felt lighter. All these miracles started happening. I had started business and I had 1 follower. Then I had 100. I had 1,000 followers. I was in a place where I had no money in the bank, and a relative came and said, here's $10,000. I was in a place, whatever your story is, after March 20th, you're going to tell yourself that story. Look in the mirror and say, March 20th is the night everything changed for me. And then tell your vision. What is your vision? You have visions. You all have visions. Speak the visions. Speak the visions. Share it with someone. Hold yourself accountable. It has to happen. Make sense? Don't stop. Resistance is going to come. The not wanting to do it is going to come. The thinking this is stupid is going to come. This is your brain. Remember those neural pathways? Your brain is like, look, your brain loves you and it wants to protect you. And it's like, well, when you tried to do that before, it didn't work. Remember you tried to do that abundance thing before and it didn't work? So don't do it because your brain loves you. It doesn't want you to be hurt. Tell your brain, thank you, but not this time. When those doubts come in, thank you. I appreciate you loving me so much that you presenting this fear to me, this doubt to me because you want to protect my feelings. I appreciate you, brain, but no thank you. This time, we changing things because March 20th was a night that changed everything for me. Let me know if this makes sense, if this resonates with you. Healing Goddess Jocelyn, you said yes. My soul is so ready. Gratitude. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Now let's explain. Let me explain the Neuro Ascend method. This is the 3-step method. You have to do it as I share it with you, and this will work. Again, this is backed by science, but we're using biology, quantum physics, quantum mechanics. We're using all three to and the heart chakra to make this work. Okay, so let's talk about this 3-step method. Number one, let me take this off the screen. Number one, when that old thought comes to you, acknowledge it. Okay, you're not smart enough. You're not smart enough to start that business, or you're not smart enough to do whatever. Thank you. I acknowledge. I acknowledge that pathway that's been forged there. I got it. Okay. The first thing you do is you acknowledge it. Don't try to change your mind. Try to remove it. Don't like that doesn't work. It's not going anywhere. It's like AA. We're gonna call this NA, Neuroscience Anonymous. Okay. You have to acknowledge it first. You have to accept it. Like this is your stuff. Nobody's making this up. This is your stuff. Okay. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna acknowledge it. Acknowledge that it's an old thought. You are an old thought. Okay. I respect you for what you did and what you were. Fine. Immediately create a new thought. Okay. You're not smart enough. Okay. You're an old thought. I am smart enough. No, matter of fact, I'm brilliant. I am brilliant. Okay. And feel that new thought. So it comes in, you're not smart enough. Okay, that's the old thought. Actually, I am brilliant. I'm so brilliant that I even am doing this work. I'm so brilliant, and then start feeling the ways that you're brilliant. I'm so brilliant that I put this nice outfit on. I'm so brilliant that I know how to download something. I don't know, whatever you can connect to brilliance. It doesn't have to be anything too great, or connect to a memory where you did something that was brilliant. How did you feel when you did it? Okay. How did you feel? The key is you have to feel it. Okay. Here's another thought that so many people have. Every time I get some money, something always happens. Y'all heard that? Y'all, I know you said it. Never fails, right? That thought's gonna come up. You're gonna say, damn, I acknowledge that. I think I got this from my mother, my father, my cousins. That's crazy that they taught me that. But I am abundant. I am abundant. I'm abundant. I'm abundant. Look at me. I'm so abundant. I'm alive. Like I made it. Out of all the millions of spermatozoas, My dad's one made it to the egg. I'm that abundant. I'm abundant. Look at me. I have ears to hear, eyes to see. I have a mouth to speak. I have teeth in my mouth. I'm abundant. What do you feel abundant about? I'm abundant. What? I have $1.44 in my bank account. 144. 4 equals 9. 9 is transformation. I'm abundant. Okay? It may sound foolish. It may be ridiculous. Be ridiculous for those 9 days. You have to feel it. You have to say it. You have to acknowledge it, say it, and feel it. You follow me? So step number 1, you acknowledge it. Acknowledge the old thought that comes in, because they're going to come. Oh, they're going to come. And your spirit team is going to make sure that they come. Your spirit team's like, we gotta ascend here. We in this portal. You open that door. You ready to do this work? Here come the thoughts. You're not worthy. You're ugly. You're never gonna get married. You're never gonna have a man. You're never gonna have a woman. You're never gonna have children. You're never gonna this. You're never gonna move. You're always gonna be in the hood. You're always gonna be in this country. All these things are gonna come flooding in. For the men, you're never gonna get a woman. I don't want a city girl. These women out here it's so hard. Thoughts can come in your head, and you be like, "Oh no, my divine partner is waiting for me." Matter of fact, she's waiting for me to do these 9 days, and she's gonna show up. Oh my gosh, and she can probably cook really good, and she probably cooks really good plant-based stuff, and she probably likes to work out. She's probably funny. And you know what? She's spiritual. She is spiritual, but not that spiritual, but a spiritual conscious. And she's nice and funny. Oh my gosh. And she probably, oh, just think of go there, go in that feeling place. I can't wait till I hug her. Oh my gosh. She's gonna have soft skin, or maybe whatever. Go to that place and feel. Now, don't go too deep. Don't be too specific. Your spirit team may have someone. You may say, well, "I want her to have long hair." Your spirit team is like, "Damn, she has short hair." Now we gotta try to find someone else. So I need you to feel. But when you start getting too specific, reel it back. Reel it back. I want you to just feel that. You hear me? Feel that. Number 1, acknowledge the negative thought. Right? Number 2, you want to speak against it. Immediately create a new thought. Immediately create the opposite. And then number 3, feel that. Feel it. 9 days. 9 days. 9 days. It seems so easy. It seems so easy. Today, I was practicing something. I said, I'm going to have a thought that tries to come a lot, invade my mind a lot. And it came like 50 times today. And so 50 times I'm doing this method. 50 times, that's a lot. So I'm not saying that it's going to be something that is easy. It is something that is challenging, but it works. It works, y'all. You can do it for 63 days and just do the logic. Just do the I am affirmations and whatever that thing is. Or we can do it in this shorter period of time. Okay? And then you will start to see how things just start manifesting for you left and right, like ridiculously. Like, is this real? This just showed up the next day? Because you have these fresh neural pathways that says things like, I'm abundant. I will always win. I will always be successful. Like, for real. And here's an example of it. And I remember that time when this happened, and I was like, when you were successful that time, and right? Make sure it's in alignment with your vision. Make sure it's in alignment with your vision. Y'all, when I first started, so 663 in the chat. When I first started YouTube, it was me. And at first it was 2 followers, and then it was 8. I was holding on to 8 for like a whole month. I was doing my videos. You couldn't tell me nothing. Because when I was done, I would sit on the edge of my bed in my parents' attic. Yes. And I would look into the wall, into the closet. I didn't even have a closet door. It was a opening with a curtain. Okay. And I would look at that curtain and I would pretend that I was talking to 657 people. And I would share, this is how you meditate. Let me teach you how to do this. I would just talk to it. And it felt so good. That was the vision that I had. The vision, you're going to have a school. Okay, I'm going to have a school. Let me act like I'm teaching some students. When I only had 8 subscribers on YouTube, y'all. 2019. So I'm telling you, this works. The question is, are you ready? Do you really want to do this? This is it. This is it. I told you 400 years to the day where the Kali Nagas were massacred. 400 years to the year, excuse me. 400 years to the year. 360 years to when the Iroquois Confederacy and the Wampanoag Confederacy lost the war to the English because of self-sabotage within their ranks. 360 years to the year. We're in a 9 cycle. 9 is transformation. It happens to fall in the year of the snake. Snake sheds their skin, becomes new, transformation. It is internal work. It is feminine. The equinox is on March 20th. 9 days later is the new moon. There goes that 9 again. Y'all, none of this can be made like damn. You really can't make this up. And we're at the end of an 80-year cycle. Literally, 2019 started it. 6 years later, 2025. You already see what's happening. You already see what's happening in the world. You already see it. The Kalis are rising. We are literally in this portal. This is it. It is not in June. It is not July. It is not September. It wasn't last month. It is literally coming up Thursday. Thursday, the 20th. Like, this is it. In the past 9 years, in the past 80 years, in the past 360, y'all get it? Y'all get it? Do y'all get how important this space is? We hear portals all the time. Oh, it's the this portal, this portal. Great. This is actually a portal. And it's not a one-day thing. You have 9 days to practice it, to get it right. You have help. You have help. You have help from your spirit team. You have help physically from your communities if you're part of a community. If you're not, connect. You have help. Listen, you have help in the waters. You have help in the skies. Let's just say that. Because the mothers did their dance. Ancient mothers, they connect, they did their dance, just like in Avatar. Enough is enough. Now we need spirit to respond. We need the elements to respond. We need the elements to support now. Enough is enough. We need to tap into who we are spiritually and fight spiritually. No more physical fighting. No, it has not gotten us anywhere. Yes, there have been some strides. Oh my goodness, I'm not saying that, but are you for real? You for real? You taking a crumb How are you a god, goddess, and you accepting a crumb? How dare you? When you have all this power through your DNA and you accepting just the crumb. We sacrifice our lives, our bodies, our time, our families, our loved ones. Our brothers and sons are overflowing the prisons. There's too much sacrifice. Families are being divided once again. It's too much sacrifice. How much, how much more blood can we give? How much more fight can we fight? How much more protest and screaming and shouting in the streets can we do? It did not get us anywhere. We have learned cycle after cycle. We have learned. And now we have to get back to the essence of who we are and tap into our spirituality, y'all. Do you get it? Do you get it? You're not going to convince a physical being of who you are. They know who you are. They don't want you to know who you are. And they want you to tap into their stuff and try to defeat them when they know you can never do it. You can never. You can never. You a giant playing an ants game. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Stand in your power. Stop being afraid. What is the worst that's going to happen to you? What is the worst that's going to happen to you? Get out of fear. Get out of fear. Get out of fear. What are you afraid of? You've been conditioned in a fear of something that's not even real, that's not even true. And so you never step into your true power of who you truly are. You talk weak, you walk weak, you act weak. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Six in the chat. I love you so, family. I have nothing left to give tonight. It is my hope that you take this information, rewatch the videos, that you actually do this work, that you finally stop just talking and doing external stuff and actually do the internal work, like for real this time. Just stop it. Have a wonderful night. Sweet dreams, safe travels, and I will see you all soon. Peace, everyone. Good night.